How many of those are real? So we know Epstein's Island's real. And I used to think that was fucking insanity. Alex Jones was telling me about that over a decade ago. There's an island,
that's nuts.
They compromise people on this island. They get them go there. These are hot girls. They look hot, but they're 16. He's telling me this whole thing. I was like, what?
This is the thing about Alex Jones is that he'd always have this method of like, he throws a lot of shit at the wall.
They're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, but that one turned out to be right too, or more or less kind of right. You know, or maybe trans, whatever the frogs are. It's doing something.
Changing their sex.
Yeah. But like and by the way, the thing is that there's too many people who are like Alex Jones was right, and there are a lot of things he was right about, but there's also a ton of things he was wrong about that he's just say with certainty. Like, and I have the information, I have all this and this, and it's like this. Just none of this is true. I remember right after 9/11, he was going into this thing about how we're going to get in a nuclear war because Iran already has the nukes and they're going to use them. And he had this whole thing about how, like, he goes, Iran has nuclear weapons. I have the documents to prove this. We've got the sources off the record. But and it's just none of that was right, you know? But then there's like the thing that he's right about. Like being right about the Epstein Island thing is so fucking crazy, dude.
So wild. So wild.
And then
he was also right about Bohemian Grove.
Yep.
I mean, people forget about that. I mean, he was in Bohemian Grove in like the 90s when they filmed all that.
Yeah.
Which is, you watch that ceremony, you're like, what are you doing? Like, what you guys are dressing up like druids and you're burning an effigy in front of an owl god?
Yeah.
And you're speaking on loudspeakers about this owl god Moloch?
This is really what they do.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
That's real.
And it's like, I'm not saying that we're living in this like this biblical world where there is like
I'll say it.
Well, I'm not saying that there is a God and a Satan. I'm not saying there's not. I mean, I believe in God, but I'm saying they believe they're living in this world and they believe they're like on Team Satan or something like that. Because they do. It is very bizarre. I know these are the type of things that you're not allowed to bring up because, oh, now you're a nutty conspiracy theorist, but we have proof of this happening. It's not, Bohemian Grove isn't just like we have actual video footage of it. We don't know everyone who's there. We know Nixon was there, and we know he said it was the faggotiest thing he's ever seen in his life, and he wanted to wash his hands, or he didn't want to shake people's hands there. Like, this is all real, and it does look like, when we played that clip before of Madeleine Albright being like, yeah, that 500,000 dead children, that's worth it. Like, the price is worth it. It does kind of like, you start to kind of ask these questions where you're like, okay, so there are these people who are comfortable making decisions that lead to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of children. And we know in many cases they're making these decisions based off profit. And you're like,
isn't that satanic?
Yeah, like, so who is that person?
Right.
Like, who the fuck is that person? Is it like they just do that at work and then they clock out and they're just like us? Or are they clocking out and doing some weird ritual at the Bohemian Grove? You know what I mean? Epstein thing was, I mean, I guess it's not exactly this, but you remember the like the pictures, the paintings that they found from him? There's one with George W. Bush when he's like a little kid and he's playing with the blocks that are in the towers.
Yeah.
And then there's like what is it, Bill Clinton in a dress or something like that? Like, it's not exactly Satanist shit, but it's still just kind of this weird, like,
well, the Clinton
what is
thing
this?
To me was like clear that like you have the president in a fucking dress, and we've talked about this. There's like a little fucking screenshot of me talking about it with Duncan. We're like, that is, to me, I got you. I got you, bitch. Like,
and the George W. Bush one seems to be kind of like different, but a similar, like, this idiot has no idea what the fuck's going on.
Exactly. He's got a doofus-looking look on his face.
But it's the planes in two towers.
Is supposedly, the conspiracy is that he was part of the intelligence agency, that he was something, Mossad or something.
Either Mossad or CIA or something.
Or a combination of those two.